What's going on, Junkie Nation? Gorgeous George and Goes are back with another superstar from the sport of mixed martial arts. Rob Wilkinson is our guest. He is going to be fighting Omari Akhmedov at PFL 10 2022 Championships. It takes place Friday, November 25th in Madison Square Garden in New York City. What's going on, Rob? How are you?
I'm good, guys. How you doing?
Good, thank you. How does it feel to be part of a pay-per-view? Has that been something that you think has added to the prestige of the night? 6 titles, some nice free agent signings that are going to be battling it out? Or do you feel like it's been a struggle to maybe allow friends and family to partake and watch you in what could be the biggest moment of your life?
Yeah, it's exciting that it's a pay-per-view. I think it's the first pay-per-view for PFL. I'm sure my friends and family can figure out how to pay for one back home in Australia. But yeah, no, it's going to be exciting. You know, the world title and the $1 million on the line, I think, kind of trumps the pay-per-view excitement. But yeah, it's going to be good.
Yeah, I've been thinking this through. I mean, I'm getting it no matter what because I love MMA, but I think PFL did a great job in giving us a stacked card that's worth it. But I was wondering, as far as what others might be thinking, you know what I mean? Like this is their first foray. It's always free, and I guess that's what I was wondering. I think Australia is a country that's accustomed to paying for pay-per-views, so this isn't like the strangest position for them to be in, right?
No, we're used to it. Obviously, it's as you said, it's been free all year, and it's always been free. In Australia, you just had to be signed up to Stan Sport, just a streaming service, which I think is like $10 a month, and then you could watch the fights live or on replays. But yeah, I don't know. I haven't given it too much thought about the pay-per-view side of it.
Well, hopefully a lot of people do tune in because, again, great card. You're one of the first of the finalists that's going to be getting down on that night, Omari Akhmedov. And I got to believe, I mean, you haven't lost in 4.5 years. You haven't lost in your last 5 MMA contests. And then if we throw the other combat sports in there, you haven't lost in your last 8. Is your confidence at an all-time high right now? Are you riding the biggest wave of momentum there is?
Yeah, I'm feeling good. As you said, I've been on a win streak since the UFC. I'm feeling a lot better at light heavyweight. And yeah, I just kind of, after the 2 losses in the UFC, I just, I took some time off, and I just had to kind of work on what I knew I needed to improve on to round out my game and be ready to compete at the highest level, which I believe I'm ready to do now, and I'll show that on November 25th.
And a lot of people will remember you from those fights. One of them being against the current world champion at the weight class you were in before. What's your message to them? How much better are you now, almost 5 years later, than when you were in the UFC?
I mean, obviously, I'm a lot better. I was 25 when I was in the UFC, so it was pretty early on in my career. And yeah, I just I took those losses, and obviously, I fought some of the top guys. I fought Israel, and I've learned from that, and just dedicated myself to improving mainly my striking since then. And that's, as we were talking about, I've had 3 kickboxing and Thai fights since the UFC. I've also had a professional boxing fight. I won all of them, and I've had now 5 MMA fights and at light heavyweight. So I feel a lot better at this weight class, and I feel much more comfortable with my striking and not just relying on only my wrestling like I kind of felt like I had to do in the UFC.
A lot of people would lose maybe 2 in a row, and it would take them a few years to dig out of it. But as we've stated, you've been on a roll. What do you think was the biggest factor in you being able to shake that off, make sure your confidence didn't dip down too much, work hard, put it all together, and be in the position now to win a major title?
Actually, I think some of it's from fighting Israel and even going down and training at their gym and learning off those guys. And I remember Israel and his team kind of said that they had turned down the UFC for a number of years before they accepted it, and when they were ready to sign with the UFC, they were ready to go straight to the top. And I used that kind of time after getting released to the UFC. I didn't think I thought I was ready to compete with those guys, but not to be fighting the top 5 guys in the world. So I've just used that time to make sure, that's what I've been training towards. So every fight I've had, it hasn't been training for that person. I've been training to be the best fighter I can be and be ready to compete against the best guys in the world. So I definitely learned a lot from fighting and training with Israel and his team. But yeah, just made sure I was ready for when this opportunity came, that I was ready to take it.
Rob, the PFL can sometimes put such a toll on you as far as mental, physical, what you guys have to go through. I know you're a journal guy. Can you maybe share what that journey was like to get to where you are? How close is what you wrote on day one, what you wanted to do, to what has actually played out?
I mean, I've been writing for a number of years. I can't remember exactly, but it's probably 2 to 3 years now that I'll be a world champion in 2022. So, I'm 2 weeks today. 2 weeks right now. I think I'll be fighting in Madison Square Garden to complete that goal. So it's pretty crazy, but it's exciting. I'm very excited for it. So it's been the journey through the PFL fighting so regularly. It hasn't been. I've kind of listened to other people saying it's a toll mentally and physically. You have to fight 4 times, I think, in about 8 months. You're constantly in fight camp. As soon as you get done with one, you're ready for the next one. You're focusing on the next one. But for me, it's just been exciting. I've been really trying to stay active and fight regularly. And like many people, it's been a struggle, especially when COVID hit. But even before COVID, it was hard to get fights in Australia. And that's one of the reasons I ended up having like a boxing fight, just to stay active. So for me, I've wanted to be active. I wanted to fight 3 or 4 times a year. I've had a goal of fighting 4 times a year for a long time, and just never been able to do that because I just haven't been getting the matchups, or then COVID was cancelling a lot of fights. So it's just exciting, and I've enjoyed every moment of it, and it hasn't been a toll for me. I've just been loving the training and loving that I get to compete so regularly.
Growing up here in the States, when we were kids and we were shooting basketballs, we always would mimic being in Madison Square Garden, right? It's kind of the mecca for a lot of things. What is it like from you coming from another country, but knowing that you're going to fight in a place that has such history to it? So you gonna kind of get a little bit of chills with that, or is that just kind of an American thing?
It's definitely not just an American thing. It's very exciting, but the playoffs, my last fight was there as well. So I've already fought there, and I got a first round walk off KO. So someone messaged me afterwards. One of my good friends, Khan, messaged me afterwards, kind of saying that was unreal. You just got a walk off KO in Madison Square Garden, and I hadn't really thought about it until I read that. But yeah, fighting for a world title now in Madison Square Garden. That's just a dream come true.
Is one of the advantages you're bringing into this fight the fact that you've been able to get in and out of so many of these fights? Now, I know they've come at a cost. Sometimes we hear when fighters win their fights quick, they end up with injuries, a messed up hand or something like that. But it seems like you're pretty fresh physically, mentally. Is that an advantage that you're taking into this fight?
Yeah, definitely. I'm feeling good. I haven't been, too hurt in any of my fights so far this year. Probably the worst injury I had was 2 weeks before the last fight in the playoffs. I was in a car accident. Someone just ran into me from behind, and I had pretty bad whiplash from that. But that's, I've got all that treated now, and I feel 100% going into this fight.
How fast was the other car going when they hit you? Were you stationary?
Yeah, I was on I guess a highway, and I stopped at the red light, and I think the woman behind me was on her phone, and so there was no squealing of brakes or skid marks or anything. I think she hit me full bore, probably going, I'm not sure, maybe around 40 miles an hour. It rode off the car, it pushed me into the car in front of me. The airbag went off. The car was a ride off. So it wasn't ideal timing. It was about 2 or 2.5 weeks before I fought Dion. Yeah.
The airbag, how hard did it hit you? Well, what would you compare it to? A stiff jab, or was it a cross?
It was definitely the most rocked I've been all year. So I haven't been hit that hard in any more fights yet.
Did you read? This is amazing that we're talking about this, because earlier today I was reading Justin Gaethje said before his last fight, 18 days before his last fight, he fell off his bicycle. Or not bicycle. Yeah, I think it was his bicycle.
Yeah, I read that.
And so he was all, he had road rash or whatever. And so now, as you were saying this, I'm thinking, wow, what's going on over there in Colorado? People just getting in accidents before major events.
And the drivers are crazy over here, that's for sure.
Are you full time there, or is that just where you do your camps? Or
I've been here. I chose to stay over here after my first fight with the PFL. So I trained out of HCC in Hobart for my first fight, and then fought at the end of April 20th, and stayed and moved to Denver after that. One of the reasons, or a couple of reasons, but one of the reasons was I just didn't want to risk anything with COVID. Australia had been very strict, and we had shut down our borders, and it was hard to fly internationally. We had opened them up then, but I was just, I didn't want to lose out on an opportunity to fight because I couldn't fly and get to the fight. Another reason, obviously, with the PFL, you're fighting back to back. I had 7 weeks between some of my fights, 8 weeks between another of my fights, and just it's a long flight, and didn't want to risk or just have the jet lag flying in and out. So I chose to stay over here and just do my camp here for the whole year.
Yeah, at Mile High level too. It probably helps with that.
Yeah.
Getting different looks. You're with a great gym. Last question I read there on Tapology. Tasmania is home. Is that small island right below Australia itself?
It is. It's a tiny little island. It's got a population of about 500,000 people on it. Very beautiful island, but yeah, that's my home, and I'm looking forward to going back with this world title in December.
Tell me, what is Tasmania like? Is that is that a place where you would recommend for somebody that goes to Australia? Like, I've never been there, and if I went to Australia, I'd probably go for a couple of weeks. Is Tasmania a place to stop, for tourists, or is that just like a whole other type of place that doesn't appeal to tourism?
No, definitely, it's really big for tourism at the moment. I've seen it win awards. One of the top 10, most beautiful islands in the world. There's lots to do. There's really good food. There's a really popular museum, Mona Museum, down there that people go to. But the good thing about Tasmania, like, you could come to there for 5 days a week, and you can see so much of it. You can be in the city in Hobart, the capital city. That's kind of where I live, and you can drive up the coast and see all the beaches. And it only takes a few hours. You can go in, and there's rainforests. And then you can go up the mountain. You can do all that within a few days. So it's I definitely recommend. If it's funny because so many people come to Australia and miss out Tasmania. Obviously, Australia's big and there's lots to do, but I highly recommend Tasmania as one of your places to go see.
Yeah, wow. I asked the question in a terrible way, because what I was trying to get at was, our version of Hawaii. You know how we have a mainland and then we have the Hawaiian Islands that are beautiful? I guess that's what I was wondering, but you answered the question.
I've said that to the guys here at the gym and stuff. It's kind of like Hawaii, because I feel like mainland America doesn't really consider Hawaii much really American. And there's a joke back home, and often the mainland of Australia kind of says we don't count, and that sort of stuff as a joke. So, yeah.
I know you brought up a top 10 as far as tourism. What about the top 10 as far as deadliest animals? Because I know Australia's got like 5 or 6 of those bad boys. Can we relax a little bit more in Tasmania, or are we still worried about?
There's no big crocs and stuff, but I think we've got 3 of the top 10 most poisonous snakes in Tasmania. So you Americans all seem to be scared of that. I don't know what it is. You guys are all scared of Australia. We've got some spiders and some snakes. You come to America, I go on hikes in Colorado, and there's signs saying, mountain lions in this area or bears in this area and all that sort of stuff. So I don't know why you guys are scared of snakes and spiders when there's giant animals.
Because we don't wake up and there's a bear on the floor that we didn't know. We're not surprised by it.
Yeah, but if it's just a little spider, you just get a little cup, put it over it, chuck it outside.
Yeah, well, what if you're sleeping and it just stings you, and all of a sudden there's this venom that you can't come back from because he attacks your nerves, or that's the stuff that we trip out on. Yeah, I mean, crocs.
That's easy.
I see you. I'm not going to swim with you.
Spit.
What's that?
You just suck the bite, spit the poison out. Easy, done. Don't even need to go to hospital.
And then your beaches too. There's these there's stonefish, so they tricking your ass. They're pretending to be rocks, and if you casually step on them, you could be done. There's the blue ring octopus. He looks cute. He's he's blue and little and no big deal. And all of a sudden he's carrying a lot of venom. And then that box jellyfish. So it's the ones that are kind of tricking you. And again, it's this venom where you either got to pee on yourself or get to someone in 30 minutes or you're out. At least with the mountain lion, I feel like you can make these noises and retreat. And, who knows? I don't know.
I mean, up the top of the northern parts of Australia, definitely the ocean is a pretty dangerous place with sharks, saltwater crocs, and those jellyfish. You definitely don't want to go swimming when it's jellyfish season.
For sure. Hey, lastly here, since we made the Hawaiian connection, would you say men in Tasmania are built different than mainland Australia? Is there rivalry between the side that has Perth, which I guess would be west, and east, the same way you see here in the United States, the north, the south, the west? It's different personalities, different fighting styles or mentalities.
We're definitely tougher. Yeah, Tasmanians were definitely the toughest of the Australians. Where if how we got sent down from England as the convicts, and then Tasmania, they sent all the worst convicts that went to Australia. So all the really bad ones went to Tasmania. So I guess that's where we come from.
A lot of hotheads over there, huh?
Yeah.
What'd you say? Nice. All right. Well, hey, it's been a pleasure getting to know you, interviewing you here a few weeks before such a big fight, such a big fight card. So thank you for the time. We obviously hope you have a safe weight cut. Your final practices, may they be the best and the hardest and that you can get without getting hurt. And then, of course, do your thing, man. The Friday after Thanksgiving on pay-per-view. You got to catch it, folks. PFL 10, the finals. And Rob Wilkinson. Razor Rob Wilkinson's our guest here. Thank you, Rob, for the time.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.